Stardust, Chapter 22, Part 2. 5:30 p.m., May 2nd, 2015. Mess Hall. Matt grabbed a biscuit from the food lines and headed towards the usual tables that Strike One sat at. His eyes absently swept across what now appeared to be a barren and abandoned mess hall. So many empty chairs. Man, yesterday this place was packed. The tables usually taken by Strike 3 and 4 were all empty, and all he could do was remember the groups of soldiers huddled over their dishes and wolfing it down like it was their last meal. Their last meal. Matt reached his usual spot and pulled the chair out before sitting down. His gaze traveled down the table to the seats that the rest of the team usually sat at. The rest of the team. They're dead. Again. And I'm not. Again. They shouldn't be here. I shouldn't. The moment the thought sprung up into his head, he growled and tore a bite out of the plain biscuit. Look, don't think about it. Don't think about it. It's times like these that we should seek the company of our comrades. Matt heard Zhang speak behind him. The Chinese soldier had abandoned his isolated spot in favor of joining the other soldier at Strike One's table. After suffering such losses, our great enemy is often our own mind. You talk like you've had this happen before, Matt spoke evenly. I have, on occasion. And while you say little, I can see that you have before, at least once, Zhang replied, and Matt stopped mid-bite to give the other man something not quite harsh enough to be considered a glare. I do not pass judgment, nor do I accuse. They say the opportunity knocks politely when fate uses a battering ram. For whatever reason, we have survived up until now to achieve something, and our past colleagues played their parts in getting us here. It would be a disservice to their sacrifices to not acknowledge this. No disrespect intended, but I don't think I'd enjoy dying so another person could fulfill their fate. It would make me feel cheated. Would you not? Zhang retorted with an arched look. I was under the impression that American soldiers valued their camaraderie quite highly. Your services are rife with soldiers who throw themselves on grenades to save their fellows, or carry the wounded across hellish battlefields without a thought of just running away. Is that information not accurate then? Had the table not been between them, Matt would have broken Zhang's face for that, but the impending furniture was blocking his assault, and it gave him just enough time to realize the meaning behind the words. Some of the most valuable lessons are the harshest. You and I, we bear the burdens of the survivor. We have to continue knowing that others died while in battle beside us. Not because of us. We did not kill them. The enemy did. Unless you were negligent in your duties, and I am certain that you are not, then trying to blame yourself is incorrect. Zhang finished and took a bite of his own meal, which appeared to be some form of mystery meat patty with watery gravy on top. I keep expecting Lana to just show up and make some stupid comment that I can be annoyed about, Matt admitted after a long silence. Zhang nodded as he set his fork down. He steepled his fingers in front of his face before he spoke. I witnessed Miss Jenkins' final shot to distract the disc that was attacking us. Such marksmanship in spite of her injuries and the likelihood of death was unanticipated from her. I have never been more proud to admit that I was wrong about the character and discipline of another person. Yeah, Matt agreed quietly as he remembered the final moments of the fight on the battleship. Lana's pistol shot was fired just as Strike 5 had boiled onto the other side of the hangar. The disc turned just in time to catch a rocket from the new arrival's dead center on its broadside, which destroyed it. If Lana hadn't survived as long as she had, then ended up in that exact spot to make the shot, more people, they would have died. Matt's face soured as he considered his next thought. Fate my ass. That was a goddamn pure stubbornness and skill. Two things Lana has in spades. Had. A third food tray came down onto the table, interrupting Matt's train of thought as Lieutenant Trzymski pulled up a seat at the table. Gentlemen, there's something that we need to discuss, he said seriously as he began to pick at his own mystery meat patty. And by discuss, I mean I'll just talk to myself and you two will listen. If anything I say is wrong, feel free to say I'm full of shit. If I'm right, then, well, don't say anything at all. That way everyone has plausible deniability. So, deal? Before Matt or Zhang could respond, Trzymski started up again. So, okay. The other squad leaders and we had a discussion regarding the wallflower gear that was used during the last mission, as to what it might be and why we might not have wider access to it. Now, it seems mighty useful considering it allowed you and Lana to back 6 of those mutants without so much as a scratch, and one of them being a live capture. When we brought in the subject up with Bradford, he mentioned that they weren't seeing widespread deployment yet due to technical issues that resulted in Lana getting clipped by the disc. And he also mentioned that you two were chosen to use it today because you were most familiar with it due to your volunteer work. But as things stand right now, the only thing both of you volunteered for was the Stardust project, which just started, what, under a month ago? Matt wasn't the one for premonitions, but he had a sinking feeling as to where this conversation was heading. And speaking of things that happened a month ago, I recall Matt captured a new alien during a terror mission that took place in DC. All records of this capture had been scrubbed or redacted from all the official records, including our AARs of the event. Lana was also extremely defensive when asked about this alien, and I also recall you two tensing up at the moment Anderson brought up the subject. I'll note that Zhang had also been introduced to the Stardust project. So, that kind of makes me wonder that perhaps the alien that was captured last month is producing the wallflower equipment in some way of the Stardust project? It's alive, isn't it? You're right, Zhang said, and both of the other soldiers turned to look at him with surprise in their eyes before he continued. You're full of it. His hands were relaxed and his expression was cool as a cucumber. Uh-huh. Drzymski agreed after a long moment, but the suspicion in his eyes remained. Before any further discussion could present itself, the others began to enter the mess hall. Strike 5 and 6 were easily recognizable, followed by the thoroughly mauled Strike 2. Surprisingly, the Sky Ranger crews could be seen in the mix as well as the Interceptor pilots whose unofficial policy was separation from the Gropos as much as possible. When they all began to pile onto the tables without regard for units or divisions, the Strike 2 team leader waved to the trio. Hey, there are no units tonight, so get over here, he said with a tired smile, and after a few shared looks from the survivors of Strike 1, they rose to join the packed tables. As the last of the mixed group finally sat, the newly promoted Captain Fujikawa stood and motioned for silence. I have no grand speeches to give, save for stating the obvious. Yesterday, we were individual teams, crews, and squadrons. Tomorrow, we will be individual teams, crews, and squadrons. Tonight, though, we all share 2 things. We've all lost friends and teammates, and we've all gave the aliens one hell of a fight. So, before the FNGs get here, let's enjoy the one night where we don't have to babysit. So, to the old guard, those that came before. She raised her glass of water and everyone at the tables did so as well. Matt downed his water, but his thoughts were still on the one person who wasn't in attendance that would have loved it. 5:30 p.m. May 2nd, 2015. Medical. This is Dr. Benson. Pronounced time of death is 5:30 p.m. for Lana T. Jenkins. The voice said, dull disappointment in its voice. Well, crap. Cause of death is shock, brought on by blood loss from violent amputation of the left arm below the shoulder. The voice maintained its monotone tenor. No shit, really? I hadn't noticed. Did you go to school for 7 years to learn how to state the obvious? Let's move on to the next one. Resignation this time. Fucking quitter. I swear to God I'm gonna haunt your ass. Silence. The beeps and wails of medical machines stopped and the footfalls of doctors and nurses were gone as well. I hope the suits weren't full of shit when they were describing death benefits. I'm so sorry, Mom. I hope that they pay up. I really hope. Hope, a new voice said, and its tone was that of someone who knew the punchline to the universe's greatest joke and just couldn't wait to tell it. Hope is food and water to a hungry and thirsty soul as much as food and water sates a needy body. But you're well aware of this, Lana Jenkins. Oh goody, I've got a talker. Let me guess, he talks to the corpses before he does other things to the corpses. I would never take advantage of someone like that without their permission. I guess I'll just have to disarm you with my witty repertoire first. Oh, and he thinks he's clever too. Oh, the moment I get up, we're gonna see how much you like a good disarming. But you can't get up right now. I'd offer you a hand, but I think we're just a bit past that now. I get it now. This is hell. Hell is a half-assed necrophilic stand-up comedian. Sure didn't see that one coming. Oh, this isn't hell, you silly goose, but you're about 1 second from finding out if it exists. You make it sound as if I were, you know, not gonna die, which is kinda improbable at this point. Improbable, yes, but not impossible. and even if it was impossible, I'd still make it happen. I have this insufferable nag who follows me around and tells me what I can't do. So, I just have this irresistible urge to just do whatever she says I shouldn't. Oh boy, here we go. Would you be telling this story to someone who could just walk away? Touché. So then, if this isn't hell, then what are you? Crossroad demon or perhaps the devil himself? What's the deal? Sell my soul for my life, maybe sweeten the pot by offering my arm back? Now, keep in mind, if you give me a severed arm back, I'll beat you with the soggy end. Your soul? Why would I take that away from you? The voice seemed to recoil in horror at the mere notion of it. The soul of a living creature is the purest spark of creativity and change in the universe. It is change, it's hope. It's the drive that every little living thing needs to motivate themselves to get up in the morning and take on the world, or at least their horrible commute and coworkers. So, why would I take that away from anyone? Because you're the devil and that's your thing? Well, I am a handsome devil, but I don't think that's what you mean. But that's beside the point. I've been watching you, Lana Jenkins, and you've managed to impress me. That's not something that happens very often. Oh, so why's that? Let's just say that I feel sympathetic for anyone who chooses to stand with their principles in the fate of opposition from all sides. Now I know I'm dead, or hallucinating. Oh, hey, if I'm hallucinating, what's it gonna take for you to get me a beer? 'Cause it's been ages since I've had a nice, cold... Oh, Lana, you should stop resisting, you know. I can read your heart like an open book. Granted, not your real heart that's dead as a doornail, but the heart of your soul. You gave a bit of hope to someone in their darkest hour. And well, I'm here to return the favor. Bullshit. So, what is this, some poetic justice? Tempt me with a second chance because I told a lie to give someone hope? If that's the case, you can take your deal and shove it up. Shh, shh. Hush now. Hush. We've spoken long enough, and my jailers might start to suspect my prison isn't as thorough as they thought they were if they were to check on me and see that I'm no longer there. As I said, you have impressed me, dear Lana, and you have shown that you are willing to put the needs of others ahead of your own, even if it could get you killed. I will return your life to you, but on one condition. Stay Twilight's friend. And remember, I will be watching. The voice was but a whisper in her ear, nearly drowned out by the sounds of the emergency room suddenly coming back in a rush. Doctor? Doctor, she's showing a heartbeat! What? You're kidding, son of a bitch. What are you doing? Move!